recorded live at 4ZZZ Studios, Meanjin, Brisbane.
On 102.1 FM.
And broadcast across Australia on the Community Radio Network.
You're listening to Zed Games.
Zed Games brings you the best in gaming news, reviews, community and culture. Want to reach out?
Share your hot take?
Or do you just want to share your favourite game?
Find us on socials at Zed Games AU.
Hello everybody, how are we doing? And you are listening to Zed Games. I am joined in the studio today by
Hazel.
Maylee.
Ooh, there we go.
Maylee.
A surprise Maylee appearance. And
Rio,
the really awesome journalist that I am excited to have on the episode today, because we are doing a little International Women's Day special, even though International Women's Day was last week. But don't worry about that, because we can celebrate women anytime. We have a very packed episode for you today. We've got a bunch of interviews, we've got a bunch of songs by female artists we've prepared, and we have a lot of games that we want to highlight that mean a lot to us in relation to women representation in games. How are we all feeling today? Do you want to start, Hazel?
I am doing so good. I'm happy to be here. I'm excited. I'm excited about women.
I am also excited.
I'm excited about being a woman. It's all amazing to me.
What about yourself? How are you doing?
I share all of those sentiments. I'm excited to be here as a woman, talking about women, looking at women. It's good. It's all good.
And Rio?
I have been fantasizing about a poker night at the Inventory sequel with an all-woman cast and what that would look like. And I think the characters that do definitely have to be there are Miss Pauling from Team Fortress 2 and Vriska from Homestuck.
Well, if you wanted to text in, dear listeners, 0420-626-733, let us know which female characters would you want to see in a sequel to the Inventory of the Poker Night. Other way around.
Yeah.
But we should get into the episode. We do have, starting up before the news, we have a little clip from one of the most prolific female composers in Brisbane, Jane Wai. You would have heard her work on the show plenty of times. And we have a track from a new game that I will let her introduce. You're listening to Zed Games. Enjoy Jane Wai's.
Slumbering Woods is a cozy exploration game where you plant mushrooms and help a village of frog people restore their surroundings. A challenge I set myself when creating the soundtrack for this game is to use only musical instruments that may be feasibly made by these simple living villagers. I considered also the fact that the frogs will not have access to leather, since they are canonically frogs and smaller than leather-producing prey. We never see them eating insects in the game, so these frogs are basically vegan. All leather drums out the window. Stringed instruments also out the window, because the frogs would not use gut strings, and metal wound strings are too high-tech, so most instruments in the soundtrack are made of wood, bamboo, or clay. Such restrictions on the sonic palette means we hear things like bass drums and bass lines played on wooden logs, and percussion featuring seed shakers and clay pot udus. You'll also hear upper register melodies featuring the pan flute and ocarina. This track you'll hear is just the daytime exploration music while you walk around in the village. If you like planting games, cozy games, frogs, mushrooms, and super cute art, Slumbering Woods will be releasing a demo early in March, so check it out.
That was Village of the Frog People by Jane Wai from Slumbering Woods. Go play the demo now. You're listening to Zed Games, and I'm still in the studio with
Hazel.
Maylee.
Real.
And you haven't said your own name yet.
I don't have one.
Oh.
Oh my goodness.
I am every woman.
You are every woman.
Do we get to name you this episode?
Text it. No, I'm kidding. You can, if you think of a better name than Natalia, which is my real name, please let me know. But again, packed episode. We are going straight into the
news. This week in gaming news, Australia begins age verification for online video games rated R18+. The new rules kicked in this Monday and are in addition to the existing social media bans for under 16s. They require online games platforms to implement age assurance checks or receive penalties of up to $49.5 million. The rollout has attracted some controversy. A story appeared in the ABC on Monday from reporter Ahmed Yusuf, quoting representatives of a number of Australian universities expressing privacy concerns. RMIT University official Dana McKay said, "One of the challenges with this age verification, though, is how does it work and what happens to the information? Because when we go into a bottle store or buy cigarettes, we flash our ID. The store doesn't photocopy it and keep it forever." QUT professor Daniel Angus added, "What we're seeing is a fundamental erosion of the anonymous internet."
Yeah.
We've talked about the social media bans previously and the whole age verification system. I'm sure everybody knows my feelings already if they've been listening, but this is a huge privacy violation and will, if it works, it will fundamentally change the way that we use the internet.
Yeah.
The way that we have used the internet for 20 plus years.
Yeah, it's continues to develop, and I'm sure we'll talk about it more, unfortunately, in the news.
Yeah, I gotta understand the complaint of, say, 12-year-olds GTA or COD or these very violent games that probably aren't appropriate for them, but we should probably leave that to just, trusting parents to tell to not buy those games for their kids and having that responsibility rather than the government just saying, okay, now nobody can play these games anymore anonymously.
Yeah. Will nobody think of the children?
The children.
Next story.
Oh, the next story in this week's gaming news is that the Communication Workers of America, or the CWA, announced in a press release on this past Monday that frontline workers at game studio Heart Machine, known for Hyperlight Drifter, had formed a union under the CWA Local 9003. The studio ended development on a prequel titled Hyperlight Breaker late last year and announced layoffs, but did not disclose how many staff had lost their jobs. So, not a heap of news out there, but that they have unionized. So hopefully
they've talked a bit about
steps.
their goals, and a big thing that they mentioned was having everyone involved in the decision-making process when talking about how the game itself is made, because they feel that leaving some people out of those decisions internally has hurt the quality of their work.
Yeah, I definitely think that the way they scaled up so quickly to a 2-game studio and 3D, that's a big thing. So I hope that unionizing helps them all. Next big story for the day. Valve has been sued by the Performing Rights Society for allegedly using its members' musical works, quote, without permission. US games company Valve is facing legal action in the UK's Performing Rights Society over the inclusion of copyrighted music in video games like EA Sports, formerly FIFA, Horizon from the Forza series, Grand Theft Auto, which are distributed on its digital platform. The PRS claims that Valve, quote, never obtained a license for its use of the rights, managed by PRS on behalf of its members, comprising songwriters, composers, and music publishers, end quote, and announced the lawsuit after what they describe as many years of attempted negotiations without appropriate engagement from Valve. I'm not entirely sure what the ramifications of this are, but from my understanding, it's basically Steam has been distributing things without them having the license, and so they are gonna have to get those licenses in order to store those products. Which, you know, in the topic of like, you know, digital ownership of products or whatever, and the way that games can be taken down so easily, I feel like, especially games like the skateboarding, the Tony Hawk games, and the car games get delisted all the time for like expired music or whatever. I really hope that this doesn't further that. But
I think this probably will have an impact. What that impact is, we have no way of knowing until court proceedings are over.
yeah. Moving on to the news nibbles now. Nintendo is suing the US government over tariffs. Nintendo of America has filed legal action against the US government in the US Court of International Trade over import tariffs introduced by President Donald Trump in April last year. Nintendo delayed pre-orders of the Switch 2 by 15 days shortly after the tariffs were announced. Good.
Yeah.
Rare Nintendo W. Like,
Yeah, its lawyers can do something sometimes.
I think I saw like a post somewhere saying like, this is where we're gonna finally see who has the better lawyers, Nintendo or the US.
Moving on to our next news nibble, we have the PlayStation Store offering customers different, quote, personalized prices. PS Prices, a website that tracks video game pricing across the world and across multiple different platforms, but mainly focusing on the PlayStation Store, has announced that they've detected the PlayStation Store offering some customers different prices as part of an experiment in dynamic or personalized pricing. This is believed to be a type of A/B testing designed to gather data on what customers are willing to pay, but at this stage, we only know what PS Prices have told us based on their own research.
Yeah.
I don't need to know more. I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
Big thumbs down.
I hate it unless they're offering me really low prices.
Well,
Then I only hate it a little.
in most of the major regions, they're only trialing it with discounts, personalized discounts. In the US, though, they are trialing personalized price increases.
Ooh.
Yeah. Price hikes. And the final story for the day is
Project Helix. Microsoft has announced the next generation of Xbox console on social media with the codename Project Helix and a short teaser trailer showing the project's logo. Asha Sharma, who recently took over from the retired Phil Spencer as CEO of Microsoft Gaming, added via her own social media that Project Helix will lead in performance and play your Xbox and PC games. So
What does that mean, we wonder?
That could mean anything.
we could talk about Microsoft for ages, but I would rather talk about women than Xbox, so I reckon.
Enough of this. Let's talk
yeah.
about women.
Well, now there's a woman in charge at Xbox.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful. And then
That'll
maybe,
fix it.
maybe a woman's doing the price hikes. I really feel like a part of history right now.
Wow. The rest of the week in gaming, you can expect on March 12th, Fatal Frame 2, the Crimson Butterfly remake, coming out for PC, Xbox Series X, PS5, and the Switch 2. John Carpenter's Toxic Commando for PC, Xbox Series X, and PS5, which is, I think, like Left 4 Dead by John Carpenter, the film director. So.
Yeah.
Director.
Sounds incredible.
Yeah, then we've got Road-Out for PC, Xbox Series, PS, and Nintendo Switch. Then we've got Solasta 2 for PC. Then we've got 1348 X-Photo for PC and PS5. Shout out Medieval Lesbians. And then we've got Collector's Cove for PC, PS5, and Switch. All of that on March 12th. On March 13th, Horizon Monster Hunter Stories 3 Twisted Reflection for PC, Xbox, PS5, and Switch 2. And then on the 17th, Dead Zone Rogue
Nintendo Switch.
for the Nintendo Switch 2. And that is what happens when you have the soundboard on. But now we're going to go to an interview with the number one female pinball player in the world. We just got a passionate subscriber. Someone really loves pinball or Xbox. I don't know.
Or
one of the
women.
two. Or women. Shout out.
I am Emily Cossin. I am ranked the #1 Australian female pinball player, and currently I am focusing on building the women's and non-binary community within Brisbane. I got into pinball when I was very little. I remember my first game I played, I was 3 years old in my house. My dad was collecting games and fixing them up. And then eventually Time Zone started making their own pinball tournaments with new games that they brought in from Stern. And so it was really fun. On the weeknight, I would go with my dad to the local tournaments, and I got hooked ever since, because who would say no to going to Time Zone during the week on a school night? It was never my aim to, be the top female player, I guess, because growing up I was predominantly the only female player, and it wasn't my aim until I started playing really regularly, and then I started beating the adults that I was like, oh, maybe this is something I can achieve. From what I remember, the very beginning comps I went to, the distribution of women to men was probably 10% women, 90% men. Like if there was a 30-player comp, maybe we had 3 women. And of course, everyone was at least 20 years older than me, which it was fine because I had my dad there. So I always felt comfortable going. And then, I think they were more encouraging because they could see that I was a younger player that could potentially carry on their hobby that they remembered as a kid. There were a few lady figures that, kept me coming back, especially Holly from the Gold Coast. She was kind of like my pinball mum growing up. Definitely influential to me. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have kept playing if I knew I was still playing with predominantly men. I was very fortunate that I never really experienced any really negativity from what I remember. There was mainly happy memories getting to play with the locals that I used to see who were mainly men. It was definitely a different experience than I think for most women entering the hobby because of that, age gap that I had. I had gone to an International Women's Day networking event at Game Loft, and it was really bad of me, but I was shocked to see that there were people other than women there, and I was like, why are there males here? But they brought up such a good point, it's good and all for us to, talk about women's struggles, but if we're just talking to women, it's kind of lol, we all experience that. But when you invite men to the conversation, then they actually get that deeper understanding, and then they can kind of reflect, oh, how can we then provide support for you to help you in that sort of way? So this is how we can grow the community and be able to better support those minority groups within any hobby. Nowadays, you see people wanting to spend time at home and connect online, but after COVID, you see that everyone actually does still want to socialize, and I think a pinball is just a really great way to do that. It's just a really fun time to be able to hang out with people after work in a very casual light, since it is such a social gaming experience, but then you can also get into your competitive spirit as well. So it's just a well-rounded hobby that you're able to make those friendships, but then also feel like you're in a community as well. Currently at Netherworld, there are a variety of different events for different skill levels and different involvement of players. So we have social events on Tuesday nights. They're the Bells and Chimes nights that invite any people that identify as women or non-binary to play on a selection of free play games. And this is mainly just to encourage anyone to hang out with their friends and have a try if they haven't before. And then for the players that are kind of more invested in trying to start playing competitively, but they're not quite sure if they want to start playing in more of the serious comps, we've been getting a great consistent base of competitive regular monthlies, and we get a mixture of ages as well. We have some very young people to some older ladies that have played all their life. We've been getting so many trans, non-binary players come in as well, which has been so amazing that we've been able to attract and engage all types of groups, and everyone has just been so welcoming, which is why we have been able to have new players nearly every month, which has been so amazing. None of this would be possible without the support that I have from the venues. Netherworld has been running for 10 years now this year, so without Jimmy Nails, the owner of Netherworld, support, I wouldn't be able to host these events because he has built such an inclusive and welcoming community. Something exciting from the support we've received from the past few years, it was the first time that we could actually host the Queensland Women's Championship, but we just had never done it because there wasn't enough players to do that. It's only come. Our aim for next year is that we have enough players now in every state across Australia that they can host their own women's championships, so they can then qualify into the Australian Women's Championship, which is really awesome.
Beautiful. We just listened to an interview with Emily Cossin, the #1 female pinball player in Australia. And we are going to be talking about... We're doing a Women's Day special. That's the one. Sorry, I was women on the mind. I just got lost in it. I've asked each of you to pick a game that means something to you in the context of your femininity, because it was International Women's Day last week. And so I would love to hear what you have picked for us first. Hazel?
I have picked Portal, the original.
The original.
The first game. I think Portal is a really interesting perspective on a female protagonist in a video game, because Chell, like Gordon Freeman in Half-Life, does not speak, does not say a word, doesn't even really have agency beyond solving the puzzles. But also, you don't get to see Chell directly. You only see her as the player through portals, and the portals aren't even like a mirror where you can look directly at yourself. You're always seeing yourself from some strange angle, and it just connected with me in a way that I can't quite explain the first time I played it, and it stuck with me ever since. Just I guess Chell was probably one of the first female protagonists I ever experienced in a game.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I can't remember. I don't even think the first time I played the first Portal anyway, I knew that Chell was a woman. Like,
you have to look close.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's assumed, I guess, if I see a gun in my hand, I'm playing as a guy, because that's kind of who they're made for generally, so...
And it's never addressed in the dialogue by GlaDOS. It's... Yeah, and I also found the relationship between Chell and GlaDOS as women. I mean, it's completely one-sided, but it's so complex and interesting, and something that I don't think... I think very, very few games have come close to it in the years since.
What do you see their relationship being like?
I mean, complicated. You can read a lot of things into it. You can read whatever you want into it.
What do you read out of it? If, whatever.
Everything, I mean, GlaDOS is clearly obsessed with Chell, but in a way that she wants to study her like a bug in a jar or something. And it's like Chell is so stripped of personality and agency as a protagonist, and has this non-violent means of moving through the world as a video game protagonist, and especially coming from Valve, who have basically only made shooters aside from Portal up to that point. It's just such a different perspective to anything that I had experienced before Portal.
Yeah, no, I think that image of, like, at the start of the game where you're literally, it kind of feels like you're like a bird in a cage or like a butterfly in a jar or something like that.
Yeah, and then
the first display. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the first two portals open and you just see yourself like from the side, from a distance, and it's like, is that me? What? Who is that?
Yeah, I think to circle back to what you said about how you don't really know Chell is a woman, or like it's not really addressed, that really, yeah, you're right, because I think when people discuss Portal, I think Portal and Portal 2 often are talked in conjunction a lot, but you are right that there's a lot of differences. I think it's very interesting how in Portal, like, Chell's gender isn't made a huge deal out of, as opposed to Portal 2, where GlaDOS is quipping that, oh, you're fat, you're unfashionable, so these very, like, female anxieties are put onto her, and I wonder, like, if that was done just to mine comedy out of their interactions a bit more, or like say to like kind of like assert Chell's femininity in the second game. But I always found it very funny because Chell never responds, so it's almost like perhaps GlaDOS is having some baggage she is putting onto Chell, but Chell is very unbothered. She is just solving her puzzles, but while she's living in GlaDOS's mind rent-free, clearly.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on Portal 1 in relation to Portal 2 in terms of how that relationship shifts, maybe? I
haven't thought about the relationship from the first game to the second quite so in depth, but I think that the world of Portal opens up quite a bit in Portal 2, and it stops in a way just being about GlaDOS and Chell. You have the audio logs from Cave Johnson, you have Wheatley as a major character, and those aren't women, so I don't care.
Yeah, maybe it sounds a little bit like in Arcane season 1 to 2. Like, the first season is about the relationship of the sisters, and then it becomes some weird intergalactic thing. It's like,
Yeah.
The focus story is nice.
I liked how focused the first game was.
Yeah.
To be fair, gotta give props to Portal 2 though. You do have GLaDOS like with you as little potato in Portal 2. So
Yeah.
I think in my opinion the relationship is deepened in the second game because it is giving that more depth, but a lot of Wheatley nonsense in between, so fair enough.
Yeah. Women can be potatoes too.
Yes. That's literally what my next segment's going to be. It's about how women can be potatoes too, actually.
Oh my goodness. Segue?
Should we take a little music break?
But yes, before that, we are going to... I think that warrants a replay for Portal 1 and 2. Thank you very much, Hazel. Anyway, you're listening to Zed Games, and now I've asked all of you to pick a game for International Women's Day. And Rio, you have picked...
I picked Cairn, the game that just came out this year.
I've heard excellent things about it, and I am dying to hear your thoughts.
I have many. So yes, for International Women's Day, I decided to go with Cairn. It just came out this year in late January. And Cairn, I wanted to spotlight it since it's a game that's both female-led in development and has a female main character. So I'll explain. Cairn is a survival climbing game where you control Aava, a famous alpinist, on a quest to climb the summit of Kami, a deadly mountain that no one has ever successfully climbed and lived to tell the tale. Cairn was developed by the Game Bakers, a French and Swedish studio, and notably, the game is produced by Audrey LePrince, co-founder of the Game Bakers, and has been a game producer for decades. She's been game producing since for Quantic Dream, and was a senior producer for many years at Ubisoft before founding the Game Bakers. So Cairn's gameplay is kind of Faudian in that you're controlling each individual limb of Aava and her quest to get to the top, but this is not a rage-type game. It is a meditative, slow-paced game as you comb your environment to discover herbs and cook them to make yourself meals to relieve your hunger and thirst bars as you climb the sheer rock faces of Kami one limb at a time. So this game has been really highly rated due to its innovative gameplay, but has a vocal minority of people who do not like it, mostly based due to Aava's personality. Now Aava, this is crazy, because Aava to me is one of the most consistently written characters I've ever seen. She is a great meditation on solitude, and what makes a person reach a personal goal even when it's negatively impacting her life. And you meet many characters across the mountain who are kind of funhouse reflections of Aava's solitude and where she could end up if she continues down this path. Aava is also really headstrong, impatient, standoffish, ambitious, and rude. She ignores calls from her girlfriend, from her male agent, and I think that's probably the main reason people don't like her. But I find this kind of interesting, since we often see characters that are male characters that are very much like this, who are these rude badasses like Kratos from the God of War games, or Trevor from GTA 5. But when these characteristics are in a female character, there seems to be a strong reaction. So, and I think the reason because of this is a personal theory I have about character palettes, and how throughout history of storytelling, female characters have been awarded a much narrower range of archetypes compared to their male counterparts. By this I mean there are a broader range of physical character archetypes, personalities, behaviors, and aesthetics that we have awarded to male characters but not female characters. So, while a male character can be emotionally distant, ruthless, rude, a female character can't. So for International Women's Day, I want people to challenge the palettes in which they see female characters, and not act, I suppose, as shocked when they see a female character who is rude, hypocritical, gruff, gross, stoic, dour, modestly dressed, and aesthetically average, because that's how a lot of real-life women are. But also the same flip side goes for men. I want to see more male characters who are showcased for how nurturing, how kind, how beautiful, and how gentle they are as well. So whenever for International Women's Day or this month, I kind of just want people to think more broadly about the kind of broad palettes they apply to female characters, and kind of just embrace the rougher edges of them, the same way you can revel in a badass like Kratos. I'll revel in Aava, who does not return her annoying male manager's calls because she's busy climbing a mountain, dude. Yeah.
We support women's rights and women's wrongs.
And women's wrongs.
Yeah.
All of it.
That was really cool. It reminded me a lot of the themes of like Consume Me as well from last year, which is we talked about on the show. Of like the hunt for like achieving a thing at the cost of your own self and your relationships.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ria Rabaye. You can find her on Qualbert.
Oh yes, Clover.com.
I think, not to make you blush, but I think you are my favorite games writer in Australia. Genuinely excellent work. You should go follow her wherever you are. But we are going to an interview now with a game from Brisbane as well, Zolana Galactic. This is a dress-up game, but I will let Alana talk more about it to you. You are listening to Zed Games. We'll be back after a short break.
Hi, I'm Lana. I run Alanamation, and I am making a Y2K alien sci-fi themed dress-up game called Zolana Galactic. The game's initial premise is that you are a little alien named Zolana, orbiting Earth and studying Earth culture, and she is enamored by fashion, especially the Y2K genre of fashion. And then along comes another alien who is a member of an alien race called the Unifornians, and they are all about conformity, kind of taking away individuality. Zolana challenges the Unifornian Una to a fashion battle, and your job is to dress up Zolana in bestum. There is a direct lineage from the kind of like Flash dress-up game genre to the concept of Zolana. I was a big player of those kinds of games. Honestly, I've been playing them even in my 20s when Flash was still a thing. They're like the earliest and easiest access for games that really resonated with me. I had played other games, of course, but it was just something about getting to like express that kind of creativity. The biggest inspiration was Space Channel 5. It's like a rhythm game where you're a news reporter fighting against some bad guys, I guess. Me and my sister played it on the Xbox 360. Yeah, the fashion in that has that really similar kind of Y2K sci-fi aesthetic. I was a child during that kind of point in time, but like I have very distinct memories of enjoying fashion as a younger child, and then you kind of get a little older, and then I know for a lot of female presenting people you kind of get into that point where you try and distance yourself from girly things and feminine things. I had that going on for a while, and then after high school into my early 20s, I was really getting back into fashion and enjoying girly things and pink. Y2K is really fun and quirky in a way that a lot of modern fashion tends to be distancing itself from. Unapologetic. And I think it's fun, especially as a queer identifying feminine person, to kind of allow yourself something that is distinctly feminine yet also unappealing to men. It's out there and it's outrageous. Think of like Raven Simone from That's So Raven and those ridiculous like dresses over pants and stuff like that. It's very distinctly not for men. And the protagonist, Ulala, she's also very proactive. That's a big thing about the game, is that you're playing a dress-up game which is very objectifying almost. Like the character usually isn't a character, it's a placeholder that you get to dress how you want. And yeah, my game kind of takes that and adds stakes, and it adds a story, and it adds agency for the protagonist and the character that the player is helping with rather than overtaking. Zolana Galactic is free to play on Steam and itch.io right now. You can follow me at socials at Alanamation.
We just listened to Zolana Galactic interview with the lead developer, featuring music from Jane, who we played earlier as well. And we are not disembodied voices. We are people, and we are in the studio. I'm joined today by
Hazel,
Maylee,
Rio,
and I'm Natalia.
And we are Zed Games.
And we are Zed Games. We have been covering quite a bit of ground in terms of like representation with women. We've got pinball players, we've got like Portal, we've got like a bunch of different cool things. But I wanted to highlight a kind of review. I'm going to play the intro. Yeah. Don't stop, Girlypop, come on. talk about Don't Stop Girlypop today. Half review, half cultural analysis. This is a game that came out just a couple weeks ago by Australian developers Funny Fintan, I think it was. It is a first-person movement shooter the faster you go, the more damage you deal. It is the glossiest, shiniest, girliest game I've ever seen, frankly. And it is launched to very good reception. Personally, one of my favorite things about it is just how much it commits to the aesthetic of Don't Stop Girlypop. It is glitzy, it is Y2K, it is like...
It looks like you're inside a blingy GIF from like the 2000s or 2010s or whenever that was around.
Yeah, it really does. In the game, you play as Imber, who is half fairy, half like Doom guy, like just a weapon, from the planet Synthalium, which is an evil mining company called Tiger Nix has come to drain the love from the planet, which is kind of bastards, which is kind of the resource that keeps the planet going. And so after climactic thing happens, you are brought back to try and rescue this society. It is a really interesting story about revolution, about fighting up to the men or whatever. It is a really fun shooter as well. It does a lot of things to make this kind of genre accessible, which is important for the things I'll mention in a second. It is a little bit visually noisy at times, and it does have a little bit of a rough polish. This is a first-time indie debut from a very small female-led studio. There is a lot to be forgiven, but for me, the reason why Don't Stop Girlypop is such an important game is the history of the people that made it. This game started life as a game called Inoculus, I think it was called. I can't even pronounce
GlaDOS.
it. GlaDOS. I can't pronounce that on a good day. But it started its life as GlaDOS, which was a high school project for lead developer Jane Fiona Kennington, who is a transgender woman. And so when she started the game, it was it was a bleak and dull shooter set in a grey-brown aesthetic, very much pulling from what you expect the shooter genre to be. But as she transitioned, this game kind of transitioned with her. It changed aesthetics, and you can see the bones of the game that was, but then over the top of it has been completely transformed to tell an unequivocally feminine story about, again, survival. The story and the way that it unfolds with like the planet of the fairy women or whatever is actually a really heartfelt story with really good voice acting. And it tells not just like, a lot of female games from like the Flash era or whatever that were made for women were made with very small, narrow, like you were saying, protagonists, where games about dressing up and having a family and all that kind of like superficial stuff. But this game goes beyond that and tells a story of revolution and what it takes to like lead a people, and to again, coming from a trans woman in the current times is a very nice message to hear. In that way, Don't Stop Girlypop is not only a catchy title that describes what the game is about, going fast, but it's also a catchphrase for the revolution. History of girl games are shovelware, and they are ignored and panned by critics because they are they don't count as real games. And I think that like in recent years there has been a resurgence in those kind of games by people who are interested in them, and people who want to make them at a small scale. There is a lot of really cool games coming out, even including Zolana, which we mentioned earlier. And I think that there has been a small resurgence of this kind of game through genres like the wholesome game and like the that kind of game
even like Picroos are kind of bringing back the doll maker games we'd see in our youth and Flash games. There's always been a resurgence of that happening.
There's always been a resurgence of that. For me, kind of, especially this game has dress-up mechanics where you can customize your arms and stuff like that. To me, it just feels like an extension of what like guys like to dress up with shiny guns and dress up their characters.
Exactly.
So it just feels like a natural progression. And if nothing else, I think what the most important thing that this game does is it kind of has that crossover of genre and actually makes the boomer shooter, which is the most masculine of the shooter forms, be introduced to a whole new audience, and the fact that it's coming out of Australia and led by a trans woman is really special to me. I have a lot more to say, and I'm sure I will someday, but for now, we are out of time. That was so much stuff that we covered.
Time flies when you're talking about women.
True.
Time flies when you're thinking about women. We're going to say goodbye. Thank you very much for joining us. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling incredible. I love women. I love being a woman. I love womanhood. What about you, Rio?
Something I forgot to mention, we need more fat women. I am pro fat women. We need a bigger woman now.
I was trying to think of cool fat women in games.
Yeah,
Couldn't think of any.
We need more.
We didn't have time,
I
but
want
let us
Wario,
know.
but a woman is what I need. That's
Think
what
about woman while we play this outro, and we'll see you on the next episode. Good night.
Women.
Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to Zed Games.
If you'd like to listen to more, you can find us on the Community Radio Plus app.
Or find us on socials at ZED Games AU.
See you next time.